Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm the Customer Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Faster, Smarter Warehousing with ScanForce for Stage 100, presented by our close partners at ScanForce. Before we get started, I want to go over just a few housekeeping items. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, throughout the webinar, you can submit any questions you have. If you'd like to submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar, and we're going to answer all those questions at the end of the presentation. If your GoToWebinar panel, you also have the option to zoom in and out of the presentation layout, ask those questions, and then we're also going to be recording this presentation. So the presentation will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees, as well as those who registered but were not able to attend. And we'd also appreciate your participation in our polls throughout the session. As we talked about, this is going to be an interactive session where you guys are going to drive the topics, so be prepared for that. And then we'll also have a poll and closing survey at the end that we'd appreciate your participation in. So with that said, we're thrilled that you've taken some time out of your busy day to be with us on this webinar. SWK is always here to help you fulfill your vision of a smarter and easier way to run your business by providing you with tools, support, software, and industry knowledge whenever you need it. So whether you're here to explore ScanForce's solutions or you're just here to learn, don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. Brian is here today and he has a ton of expert knowledge. So definitely whenever you have a question, we're going to hold those questions for the end, but you can ask them at any time in the Q&A section, and we're going to have Brian answer those at the end of the presentation. So that is enough from me, and I'm going to hand it over to Brian now for the main event.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Courtney. So again, Brian Berry here. I'll be your master of ceremonies today. This is normally the part in the presentation where they say, please silence your phones and put them away. I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to ask you to get your phone out because that's how you are going to participate in the presentation today. I'll be honest, not exactly sure what I'm going to talk about. You will drive the conversation based on your responses. So if you get your phone out, open up your camera app. Now, you're not going to actually take a picture, but if you get your camera open, now you have a barcode on your screen. If you will just hold your phone up with the camera app so you can see it as if you were going to take a picture, it'll pop up a little link. It's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and back during the COVID days, you would click on a QR code to get a menu, that sort of thing. Excuse me. So that will link you to the presentation. Now, when you get there, it'll say no active polls. That's just because we haven't started the polling part of it yet. But I want to give everybody a chance to get the phone out, open up the camera app, see that, click on the link. Okay, it's just really pretty simple. Now, your individual responses will not show. Don't worry about that. We're just going to see total responses, like 80% of people said this and 20% of the people said that. Now, one of the reasons that I like to do these polls is because there's one aspect of business that none of us are really good at, but it's something that we should all devote time to, and that is benchmarking. Benchmarking is just a way of seeing what everybody else out there is doing and comparing what you're doing or maybe what they're thinking and what your thoughts are on the subject. It's a really hard thing to make time to do because we all have boxes that we need to ship, and that's why we're all here. We're using Sage and we're shipping boxes, and you have a warehouse and you're talking about or interested in talking about barcoding that warehouse. So this is a great group for you to benchmark against because everybody in the room with you in this presentation room is in the same boat, using the same ERP, thinking about barcoding, thinking about becoming more efficient in their warehouse. So when you see the responses pop up, if 80% of the people say one thing and you're in the 20 percentile group, maybe that's going to force you to ask a question like, why do I think that when everybody else says this? Okay. And again, that will drive the direction of the conversation based on the kind of responses you give. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to sort of normalize barcoding for everybody. Some of you have been barcoding at least at some level for a long time and you're comfortable with it. Others of you may look at a barcode and think that looks like a demented chessboard, and I don't have any clue what that thing does or what it means. So I want to level the playing field, bring everybody up to the same speed, and let you know exactly what barcodes do, what they are good at, and in some cases, maybe even what they can't do. And sometimes that's more important because there are definitely misconceptions. So here we go with our very first poll question. And by the way, if you haven't gotten your phone out and activated just yet, the barcode for joining will be on every poll question slide, so you can always pop in at any point in time. So if you lose connection or anything. So here we go with our very first poll question. Let's take a little brief history of barcoding in general. Okay, so what year do you think barcodes were first created? And there you have a couple of choices there. And again, the joining, linking barcode is in the upper left-hand corner there. Okay. So it's like my old kindergarten teacher used to tell me there, Brian, there are no stupid answers, just stupid people. So you can plug in any answer you want. One of them is obviously wrong. I always kind of throw one of those in. So go ahead and lock your poll in. I see some people are participating. We've got 7 people that are doing it now, and we're climbing up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick countdown so you can get your last minute shots in. So we're going to find out the answers in 3, 2, 1. Most of you said 1974. Okay, a few of you 1948. All right, and then nobody guessed the other ones, 1776. I guess our founding fathers didn't have a clue what they were doing there. But let's find out the real story here. Okay, so when they were first scanned was in fact in 1974. And a lot of you have heard this story. It was a pack of Wrigley's gum at a supermarket in Ohio. Okay. And a lot of you may have heard that story. That's why you guessed 1974. However, the question wasn't when was the first barcode scanned. It was when they were created. And yes, I'm that sneaky. So actually it was 1948. So those 25% of you actually got it right. So that's when they were first created back at Drexel University. They actually got a patent on it in the early 50s, and that patent looked like this. It was called it's called the bullseye barcode. Now, this design actually didn't win out. Okay, it was kind of like VHS Betamax wars. Okay, only one technology can win. This one lost to the think about like a normal barcode that you see on a box of cereal in the grocery store. It looks like a picket fence. Okay, or maybe a picket fence that I would build because they aren't all even. The reason that this didn't win is because the printing technology of the day. If they had laser printers, this would have been great, but they didn't. And so when this went through the printer, because of all the curves, it smeared the text and it wasn't defined enough for the scanners of the day to read them. That's why the picket fence barcode that we see today in all of our consumer goods, when it went through there, it was just a straight line, which was very easy. That's why that form of barcode won out. So that's why barcodes came to be that way. Actually, there were 2 companies that fought over it, and one of them was smart enough to hire one of the original guys that came up with this. He's the one that changed it to the linear barcode that we see today, and that's why they won out. Okay, so let's continue our discussion about barcodes in general. How many barcode symbologies do you think there are? And before you answer, you may want to know what the heck is a symbology? Well, a symbology is a language. We humans have English and French and German and Spanish and all these languages. Well, barcodes have languages too, and they're called symbologies. So how many different languages or symbologies of barcodes do you think that there are out there? Again, the answer, nobody's going to grade you on this. Nobody's going to know what you pick. So just pop an answer in there, and then we'll go ahead and give you the responses in 3, 2, 1. And most of you said 30, and you would be right. 30 is about the right number. There's a couple that are debated because they're variants, but 30-ish is the right number, okay? I see some of you went high there. I like it. I'm a barcode guy. And some of you are changing your answers now. I'm going to have to figure out who does what now and see who's cheating. So anyway, yes, 30 is the right answer. So some of you are going to wait until see what the polls says and then pop your answer in, okay? If only we knew who you were so we could get credit. All right, let's move on. So another question. Now that you know that there are 30-ish symbologies out there, which one of these do you think is fake? Which one of these doesn't sound like the name of a real barcode symbology? There's Aztec, Interleaved 2 of 5, MSI Plessly, and Codablock. Okay, so go ahead and pop an answer in there. And again, the quicker you give these answers, we'll go ahead and roll to the next screen. So you don't have to debate these. Again, there's no really wrong answer here. Well, I guess there is, but you're not getting graded, so it doesn't really matter. So here we go. I'm going to show the poll results in 3, 2, 1. Most of you said Aztec, And in reality, you're all wrong because it's a trick question. Those are all valid barcode symbologies. Okay. In fact, all of us, I'm assuming, have used Aztec barcodes before you just even know it. The next time you fly, look at your boarding pass. The airline industry standardized on a 2D symbology called Aztec. It looks kind of like the QR code in the upper left-hand corner, except the boxes that are in the corners here are radiating out from the centers. That's an Aztec barcode. The next time you fly, you'll know a little something. Okay, that and 850 will get you a cup of coffee. Okay, all right. One more quick poll question. This is just a yes or no about your operation, just something I'm curious to see what people say. Do you use lot numbers and or serial numbers in your operation? Okay, so just give us a quick yes or no as to whether or not you use lots or serials, and then this is going to feed into the direction we go with the next part of our conversation. Okay, all right, so see some answers are starting to flow in, so I'm going to go ahead and pop up the answers here, what we're seeing. Okay, that's a pretty resounding result. Everybody that responded said yes, we use lots and serials. That's awesome. So 2D barcodes, like the one shown in the upper left-hand corner there, okay, are an absolute lifesaver. And I'm going to give you a real-world example here. When I first started with ScanForce, now me personally, I've been in the larger barcoding world for 25 years. Okay, as soon as we roll over into January, it'll be 25. I'll go ahead and date myself. So you got a question about barcodes. I've probably forgotten more about them than you'll ever want to know. So please ask me. Talk to your SWBK rep and get on the phone with me, and we can talk through whatever your barcode questions are. But I've been here for about 4 years, and since I joined this team, one of the first conversations that I had, or first like webinars I did, one of our existing customers was listening in. And they called me afterwards, and I had mentioned 2D barcodes. And they said, we're a food company, so we have lots on everything. Every single item has a lot with no exception. And our vendors know that they have to send us a label, and we ask them to barcode the item code and the lot number. And sometimes the item code was theirs, and sometimes it was an alias, and that's cool technology. And we talk about that if you're curious too. But they said, we do about 30,000 barcode scans a day across our 7 facilities. Okay. Now, think about, it doesn't take long to scan a barcode. You point, you pull the trigger, and it goes beep. It doesn't take a great deal of time, but it's something that they're doing 30,000 times a day. And so their question was, are you telling me, Brian, that if we go to 2-dimensional barcodes, we can encode the item code and the lot number or serial number in that one barcode and capture both pieces of data with one trigger pull, and then populate both those fields in ScanForce and subsequently send those back to Sage? And of course, my answer was yes. They did it. They saved 15,000 barcode scans a day. Okay, this is how valuable my webinars are. I promise you're going to learn something today beyond Aztecs and boarding passes. So if you use lots and serial numbers and you're doing it on paper and people are recording them, think of the error problems, transposing errors, reading errors, and rekeying into Sage errors. 4s look like 9s. I always jokingly say that if I was in charge of inventory, we'd always be off by 5 because my 4s do look like 9s. But if you have lots and serial numbers, we need to talk about 2D barcodes and how much time and errors they can save you. Okay? Now let's move on. I've got another one here about 2D barcodes. So I said they could hold item codes and lot numbers or serial numbers and things like that. About how many digits do you think we could hold in a 2D barcode? And again, it doesn't really matter if your answer is right or wrong. Just take a wild guess and see, and we'll see what everybody is saying. Okay. So go ahead, pop an answer in there. We've got 50, 100, 250, or 7,000. Okay, we've got some responses coming in, so I'll go ahead and click over to our answers. 100 and 250, and 17% of you said 7,000, and you would be right. So pat yourself on the back. So barcode symbologies are pretty dense. We can code a lot of data in there. In fact, I say all the time, I can encode the entire Gettysburg Address the size of a postage stamp using 2D barcodes. Okay, so I can certainly hold your item code, your lot or serial, an expiration date, or a vendor's lot or something like it. Just you name it, we can put it in there. Okay, and we can hold that data. And with one scan, we'll populate multiple fields on the data collection side within ScanForce, and then hit the button, poof, it's instantly back in Sage via your Wi-Fi. Okay, all right. One more quick poll question here. Excuse me. The universal product code, or UPC, that you see on consumer goods, grocery store, Walmart, Target, etc. Okay, it's the most scanned barcode in the world. Just take a wag and tell me how many times do you think those are scanned every day? Just take a guess. Answers starting to flow in. Got 4 people actively doing it. 5, somebody else is joining it. Okay, let's see. 1 billion. Actually, the 5 billion response is the winner there. Okay, remember when I kind of hinted that going high was a good thing? 5 billion is the answer. That's a lot of barcode scans. Okay, I told you I saved somebody 15,000 barcode scans a day. Imagine 5 billion of those things. All right, so the point here is barcodes are really, really very widely used. Okay, the magic behind barcode is this, folks. When a scanner reads a barcode, what happens is it decodes. There's a decode algorithm built in there. And by the way, any barcode scanner you get has the decode algorithm for all 30 of the symbologies. So it doesn't matter what the barcode is, where the barcode came from, did you develop it, did your vendor provide it, doesn't matter. The scanners can read them all. Okay. And then what it does, it decodes it and it sends keyboard strokes and it puts the data in whatever field your cursor's flashing in. So you can put it in a Word document or an Excel or into ScanForce's data application, data collection application. Okay, so that's really the magic behind barcodes. It's just the world's fastest typer. That's it. Okay, so now that we've sort of dispelled some of the mysteries about barcodes and you have a little bit of history and background on what they are, let me give you just a little bit of history on our company. Okay, so we at ScanForce, we've been around for a long time, over 20 years. We've been doing this for a while. We actually grew out of Sage 100. It was a Sage 100 client that said, "Hey, I want to scan barcodes. Will you write me something?" Their reseller did. It got it expanded upon from there, sort of grew organically, was rolled out or spun off into its own entity and named ScanForce. And here we are some 20 odd years later, we've got upwards of 10,000 users across Sage. Okay. And just to kind of give you an idea of who we are in the Sage world, Sage actually came to us and said, "Hey, we love what you've got for 100. We want to do the same thing for one of our other ERPs, but we need to skinny it down a little bit and tailor it for that market because that's not a pure, like, that ERP didn't service the same distribution manufacturing sector that 100 does." So we worked with Sage, we customed it, and now Sage actually sells that product. It's called white labeling, as if it is a Sage product, when in fact it's us behind the scenes doing the demos and the installs and the support and all that jazz. But Sage sells it as their own. So Sage actually sells some ScanForce products as their own. Okay, just to kind of give you a warm fuzzy as to how we are viewed in the larger Sage world. Okay. All right, real quick, move on. So what do we do here? So WMS, first of all, stands for Warehouse Management System, okay? And that's really what it is. We manage the warehouse. Things come in, they get moved around, we do stuff to it, and then it goes back out again. And we handle all of those applications. We have 3 different editions or versions of that WMS called Core, Select, and Premier. And as you'd expect, each one is a step up in functionality and a step up in price. So we offer you, 3 different functional levels, 3 different price levels or budget levels where you can get into barcode scanning and then grow it out from there. Now, at the bottom, label printing. What good would we be if we couldn't print barcode labels? I mean, we're a barcoding company at our core. So at receipt of goods, at manufacturing, when you're shipping, or just at any point in time, you can generate labels for things. If something gets damaged, you can reprint a label directly from the handheld. It's pretty simple. Label printing is all built in. We do manufacturing as well. Bill of materials, very common. Production management, and its companion piece called make to order. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the manufacturing section a little later. Okay. And hey, don't tell Sage, we still support work order. I know they want that to go away. It's kind of the way to go in the way of the dodo, but we can still support it. We can still do that. Obviously, in 2019, Sage released production management and said this is the replacement for work order. But here we are 5 years later, there's still people using it and we can still help there. Okay. Now, the last thing in the top right, mobile sales. This is completely different from the WMS, and we're not going to really harp on that today. We're here to talk about the warehouse. But what that mobile sales piece does is if you have a will call counter, people come up and want to place an order. Well, you can do that from a tablet and still have access to all the same data as if you were sitting at a PC connected directly to Sage. all the pricing levels and customer history and all that jazz. If you go to a trade show and you want to take orders from the show floor, or if you have sales reps that go out and take orders like a route sales, that kind of thing, and they sit across from the customer's desk, you can take an order on your tablet, hit the button, and it's printing out a pick ticket back in the warehouse to be picked by the barcode scanning system before you can even stand up and shake that customer's hand. So it's really pretty slick. All right, sort of closes the loop on creating the sales order to getting the box out the door. All right. So 3 things that I'd like you to take away from today. One of them is speed. Our application, I promise you, will not slow your people down. It will, in fact, speed them up. I'll prove it to you. Talk to your SWK rep. Let's get on a demo together. It would be me doing it, and I will show you how much faster it is than doing things on paper. And you can't validate pen on paper. People can write down anything they want. If you enter an item or a quantity and it doesn't match the PO or it doesn't match the sales order, if you enter that into a barcode scanner, it's going to go invalid entry, and it's going to give the user instant feedback. So we validate all the entry and along with being fast. We did this thing called the Million Record Challenge a while back where we loaded up 1 million records and said, go find one discrete piece of data, and it returned it across that whole range in less than 0.03 seconds, which is really fast even for a computer. Okay, it's also very intuitive. I mean, I told you we grew out of Sage 100, so of course all of our terminology and the flow of the screens, it's all built around Sage 100 because that's what it grew out of. Okay, and if there's nothing else that you remember from this conversation, is the word support. And I would tell you, don't take my word for it. Talk to anybody at SWK. Ask your rep, ask your consultant, your customer service rep, whoever that person is. Just say, hey, is ScanForce really as good as that Brian character said they were? And listen to what they say. I'll take whatever they say to the bank. Okay. Support is where we hang our hat. We're great at it. And I'm going to prove it to you with some statistics before we're done today. Okay. All right. So going back to the sort of benchmarking. Okay. I like numbers. I like statistics. I don't like arbitrary subjective things. So here are a few statistics that I pulled forward for us to talk about today. Okay, so back in 2020, Research Group found that 80% of companies in the US use barcoding in their warehouse. Okay, so again, benchmarking. Are you in the 80 percentile? Are you using it somewhat? Or are you in the 20 percentile that isn't? Okay, if you're in the 80 percentile, you're here probably because you want to figure out how you can do it better, more efficient. If you're in the 20 percentile group, you're probably wondering, where did I miss the boat? Okay, and how do I jump on board? Where do I buy a ticket? Well, that's where I come in. I'm your liaison to anything ScanForce. I can help there. Okay. Now there's a group that standardized these things. It's kind of like Wi-Fi. You've heard of the 802.11 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, whatever. So there's standards for Wi-Fi. Well, there's standards for barcodes too to make sure they're interoperable across all 5 billion scans across the country for UPCs. That's a standard. It's called the Universal Product Code, right? Well, that organization found that using barcodes can reduce logistical errors by 41%. So you take however many errors you have in your warehouse in a given day, week, month, year, and let's reduce them by 41%, and let's put a number on that. Whatever that number is probably more expensive than my barcoding system. Okay, so I will die on the hill that says barcoding systems don't cost money, they make money. I think barcoding systems should be considered a profit center. Okay, because if you think about the reduction in errors and misshipments and things of that nature, and just the time people spend walking around looking for stuff, my gosh, if you put a pedometer on people and measured their steps just looking for stuff in the warehouse, wouldn't it be great if the thing in their hand just said, hey, it's right here, go there, and they wouldn't have to look for anything ever again? How much time and money would that save you just in looking for stuff? Okay, University of Arkansas, they found that you could have a 27% improvement in inventory accuracy. If your inventory isn't accurate, what do? You just hope that it's okay and tell your customer you're sorry when it's not? Or do you tell purchasing, hey, buy a little extra, little padding, right? A little pad there, the coffers, right? So that way, if the system says you've got 10, let's go ahead and make sure we've always got 20. That way, if we're off, we're still okay. So think about the carrying cost across all of those items in your warehouse. Okay, if you add up those carrying costs, and by the way, are things more expensive now than they were a few years ago? Probably. So that just increases it exponentially. All right. Again, add up those costs, probably more than the cost of a barcoding system. If you add up the reducing errors and increasing accuracy things, and you talk about how much of a reduction you can have, It's really a lot more expensive than a barcoding system. Okay. All right, a couple more, and then we'll move on to a new topic here. If I can get my screen to slide. There we go. Okay, manual errors, okay, can cost up to 10% of a total revenue of a company. Okay, that's a big number. When you think about what your nut is for the whole year, 10% of that's a big number. Okay, maybe yours isn't that bad. Maybe you're better than that. Okay, but you do have miscounts and you do have misplaced items and you do have inaccuracies in your warehouse, or you probably wouldn't be here today listening to me yammer on about barcodes. Okay, if we can reduce that by any percentage, think of the improvement. Okay. And again, there's another organization out there called SKU Nexus. It's like SKU, like stocking unit, what your item code or product code is. Okay, so it's called SKU Nexus. Reduce error rates by 85% by implementing barcoding system. Okay, and again, it's not just about avoiding mistakes. It's about empowering your people both in the warehouse and the office to make better decisions. If your inventory counts are more accurate, then your purchasing people can order more appropriately. Maybe they don't have to order as much as often. Think about the carrying costs. These are ROIs that you're probably not even considering today, but you probably should put a number on it because you'll find the ROI for a scanning system really quick. Okay. All right. Let's jump back into the polls real quick. Okay. We talked about the three different versions, the core, the select, the premier, okay? But off to the side, we have an a la carte menu of enhancements. Just take a wild guess. How many different enhancements do you think ScanForce has? So get out your phone, the poll question is there, then pop in an answer. And I'm going to give you the right answer in a minute anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you're wrong. Just pop in an answer and let's just see what you think. How many different add-on pieces do we have that would allow you to increase an efficiency or tweak a process? Okay, let's see what you say. Okay. 44, it's a good guess. The 63 has it though. Okay, so 20% of you were correct. 63 is the actual number. Okay, now some of these are very obvious. Not everybody in the Sage 100 world does manufacturing. So our base product is a distribution. You're cheating again. I see you out there. Okay, so some of you are just distribution. Okay, but some of you are manufacturers, so you need to bolt on that production management or bill of materials, or again, work order, but we won't tell Sage. So if that's the case, okay, then we allow you to add on that enhancement called production management automation or bill of materials automation, and we dovetail directly into the corresponding application back in Sage. Okay. So we have other things as well that we can use to tweak, and now I want to talk about a few of those. I would like for you to rank the most popular ones based on what you think other people are doing. So you have 4 or 5 things on there. And the way that this one works, it's not like selecting like the last one. You're actually going to grab one of them and drag it up to the top of the screen, I believe, and then drop it in. And then you can drag and reorder them. So take just a second and look at those. You've got things like wave receiving and license plating and a couple of manufacturing options. So take a look at those and sort of rank them, order them in what you think the rest of the world views as more important. Okay. And by popular, I mean the number of people that spend money with ScanForce to add that to the mix of their products. Okay. So it's the old saying, put your money where your mouth is. If people say this is something I want to spend money on, you better dang well be sure that it's important to them. Okay. So what do you think people are spending their money on? This is benchmarking at its finest. Okay. Still got some folks entering their data. I'll give one more second to get those ranked. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see what you think. Okay. Label printing, number 1. Production management, pallet tracking, wave picking, bill of materials. And some people are still throwing their numbers in. That's okay. That's a pretty darn good guess. Label printing is actually number 1. I'm impressed. I did this exact same presentation for a different group last week, and they put label printing at the bottom. And I said, didn't you all hear me say that we're a barcoding company back in one of the early slides, that what good would we be without barcode labels? Of course, we have to have barcodes to make the scanning thing work. So label printing is number 1. It's actually rare that people don't want label printing. We do have the ability to remove it because some of our customers, they have a parent company in Germany that makes everything that they sell. So they put the barcode on there. The receiving company here in the States never needs to print a barcode. Good for them. Or maybe they're working in consumer goods and shampoo bottles have a UPC code on them and I don't need to print a label, so that's fine. Then you got production management there. Bill of materials is listed as number 5. Actually, bill of materials is the second most popular. Now, when I found these statistics, I went back over the last 4 years and I looked at number of customers that spent money with us on each of these things. Bill of materials beat out production management by one single deal over a 4-year span. That's pretty dead even in my book. But technically, bill of materials would be number 2. Okay, and don't any of you change your votes now. You're locked in. So there is an interesting trend though. Okay, while bill of materials over a 4-year period, one deal more than PM over the last year, there was nearly 4 times as many production management deals as bill of materials deals. So there's definitely a trend with people moving more towards production management for their manufacturing process in Sage. Of course, you get the nice 2-step process of issuing and completions. We, of course, allow you to print labels then too at the end of production, but you get to track labor as well. And we have a whole screen in our dashboard or management console for tracking labor. So you could say bill of materials and production management 2A and 2B. Okay. Wave picking was actually the next one, but those are pretty close together. A wave to us, in case you didn't know, is a way of grouping orders together. So if I'm trying to build a load to go to one customer and I have 5 orders or 10 orders from them, I can group them into one transaction. And now when I go pick that customer's orders, if they've ordered the same thing repetitively on multiple orders, I only have to go to that location one time to pick it instead of going back 5 times. Okay. Think of the footsteps I save. Footsteps cost money. It's one of my favorite sayings. Okay. So if you want to get efficient, wave picking is a great way to do that. Okay. We can also wave receive too. So if you get a shipment from a vendor and they give you, 5 or 10 of your POs on one truckload, and you've ordered repetitively the same fast moving product on multiple orders, you can receive it and put it away in one step. Okay. It's all about building efficiencies. Now, pallet tracking brought up the rear. And when I say brought up the rear, I mean it was number 5 out of 63. Remember, we had 63 enhancements. So pallet tracking still very, very popular overall, but not every warehouse works at the pallet level. Okay, so we'll talk more about that one a little as we go. Okay, right now let's talk about what's hot in the market. So these are the things from a benchmarking standpoint that you need to hear about, because this is what the rest of the Sage 100 community is coming to ScanForce for and saying, Brian, talk to me about this thing. Okay, the first one is an enhancement that we have called order assignment. Okay, now a lot of you probably print a pick ticket. And if you have 5 pickers, you have 5 piles of pick tickets, and everybody's got one, and they go and they grab one, and they do, each one in succession, and that's how they go about their day. But wouldn't it be cool if from your desktop, if you were an operations manager or a warehouse manager or a shift supervisor, if you could see a list of all the orders and say, okay, now just show me today's orders. All right, and now you could further define that by customer, route, or whatever, but you could see the skinny down list of just the orders you were interested in. And you could say, now I'm going to drag this one and drop it over here on little Bobby's track, and this one on little Timmy's track, and this one on little Stevie's. And so now I can balance everybody's workload. For instance, if you've got one gigantic order that's going to take all day, well, I don't want to give that person 5 other orders to do today. I'll split those amongst the other people, and I'll give one person the one big order to work on all day. I can balance the workload very easily. I can also prioritize. If you've got somebody coming to pick something up, that's got to be picked first because it's got to be ready when they get here. Or if it's the most complicated order out there and you want to make sure you get it to your most experienced picker, okay, you can prioritize them and balance that workload. It also allows you to go completely paperless because you don't have to print the pick ticket anymore. The user just signs in and they say, oh, here's my to-do list for today. I'm going to pick the first order in the list. Okay, and that's how they go about it. So that's called order assignment. That's one of those 63 enhancements that we can add on. You don't have to use that, but it's pretty cool. Okay, another one. Raise your hand if you use Starship. If you do, we need to talk, because today your users are packaging things, putting them in boxes, whatever. Then they go to a PC and they log into Starship and they navigate through and they find their order and they wiggle their way around. They find the little truck icon. They finally input all their data and they hit the button and then it spits out their labels. What if I could take all that away from you? Think about every order that you produce. If we pinged Starship behind the scenes and said, hey, I've got all the data, give me my label, and they just magically started printing, and your people never had to log into Starship again. Now, of course, on an account maintenance basis, you're still going to log into Starship occasionally to do stuff. But the point is, on an order by order basis, box by box, your people won't even know Starship is a part of the mix. They'll just have their ScanForce screen. They'll scan their items. They'll hit the button, and poof, labels magically appear out of the printer. Okay, just like for this young lady right here. Okay, so if you use Starship, we need to talk, because think of the efficiency gain and the time that your people will not spend wasted dealing with Starship on an order by order basis. Okay. All right. Here's another one, license plating. I told you we would come back to this one. This is another one of those deals where, if you use Starship, we need to talk. If you have those kind of machines in your warehouse, we need to talk. If you move things around by pallet, I would love to at least play devil's advocate and talk about the things that license plating, or generically known as pallet tracking, can do for you. Okay. For instance, if I'm shipping stuff to a customer, whether it's all one product and I have 10 pallets of it, or whether it's a one pallet going to this customer that has 15 different items underneath the shrink wrap. Okay, I could have a bunch of different item codes, different lot numbers, different serial numbers. All of you use lots or serials, and you shrink wrap it. And then when you go to ship it, if somebody says, hey, is the so and so in there? Well, I don't know. Well, cut the shrink wrap off. Let's unpack the whole darn thing and let's see. Wouldn't it be cool when you're building the pallet if you could scan all the stuff into it, and then ScanForce prints you a nice little sticker that goes on the outside of the shrink wrap that says this is pallet number 1001, or whatever you want to call it. And it can sit there for a day, a week, a month, whatever. And when you're ready to ship it, you just scan that one barcode, the license plate number or pallet ID tag, either way, you call it whatever you want. And now Sage knows everything that's underneath that license plate number, and it all ships instantly. So you don't have to go back and count, and did I remember to do this? It's all there, and Sage knows, because we, ScanForce, don't keep your data. We add things to Sage to make your data more visible. Okay, so one scan to move a pallet, one scan to receive an entire pallet, one scan to ship an entire pallet. Okay, imagine your customer says, I want to order all this stuff, and it takes 10 pallets. And he says, I'll let you know when I'm ready for it. You can go ahead and pick it, put it together, and set it aside. And then we say, okay, I'm ready. All your people have to do is scan 10 barcodes. That's it. And everything ships. It's ultimate efficiency. Okay. There's one other thing that I want to talk about here, and it's so new I don't even have a slide for it. Okay. It's called image capture. Okay. Imagine this. You use your forklift and you cut open the shrink wrap on a pallet, and then you open it up and you find that everything inside of it has been destroyed. Okay, things are broken, turned upside down, spilled, spoiled, whatever your case may be in your world. Okay, wouldn't it be cool if the scanner that you're holding to do that receiving transaction on had a camera on the back of it, and you could just hit a button, click, take a picture of that, and have it automatically save in Sage and automatically tied to the PO? The file is actually called PO number 12345-001. So if you could have multiple pictures from that PO. As soon as you roll the door up on the truck, if everything's tilted over a 45-degree angle, you hold the scanner up, you go click, boom, it takes a picture, instantly back in Sage. It's saved, it's backed up. Anybody can, in purchasing or accounting or traffic or shipping or whoever, can go and find it a day, a week, a month, a year later. It's always going to be there. So yeah, you could take a picture on a camera, and yeah, somebody could take that camera to an office, and yeah, they could take the memory card out, and you kind of get where I'm going here, right? Wouldn't it be easier just to go click and fire and forget, and you're done? Okay. And also, same thing available on the outbound side. So if you pack something pristinely and you want to take a picture of it to prove that that's what it looked like when it left your dock, so if it's destroyed when it gets to the other end, guess who's the fault? The carrier, and you've got visual proof. Okay. All right. So that's a few things that are really hot right now that people are coming to us. So from a benchmarking standpoint, these are some of the more interesting topics that people are coming to us for. So again, 3 different functional versions, different budget levels of the scanning system itself, and then the a la carte menu to add on things like manufacturing or license plating or capturing images. None of it's a gotta have. Some of you, it may be a gotta have in some of your businesses like manufacturing, but you can add this stuff on as you go. You could start with the basics, get receiving under your belt, and start doing receiving and start doing cycle counting, and then grow into other things if you decide that you need to. Nothing saying you have to, but it's nice to know that you have an upgrade path. 3 different functional versions, 63 enhancements. Okay? All right, let me talk a little bit more about support. I mentioned that word to you before. Okay? What do you think ScanForce's support team's average response time is day in, day out? Now, I'm going to tell you, this is a real number. In all of last year, 2023, we charted every call that came into our support. Now, some of it is, why is this report printing this way? Or why is this doing this? Or some of it was, hey, I want to add a new scanner. Or, hey, I want to add that wave picking thing that Brian told me about. Okay, so we get all kinds of calls, but what do you think our average response time is? And here's the answer in 3, 2, 1. Ding, 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 ding. 26 minutes. That is correct. Okay. 4 hours. Who put that in there? You got to know we're better than that. I hope that's a joke. You don't think we're that bad. 26 minutes is the actual average time to first response. And I love the fact that that's the average because half the time we're beating it. Okay. Compare that to any other technology company you've ever dealt with. Okay. Is 26 minutes, how is that from a benchmarking standpoint? Is that good, better, indifferent? I hope that you think that that's a really good number because it's something we're proud of. But I can tell you, we had our State of the Union address earlier this year and say, okay, there goes the cheaters again. I see you. Okay. So I'm gonna have to start putting names up here on these polls if we could find out who's doing this. So anyway, see, you made me lose my train of thought. Anyway, 26 minutes, it's a really good number. We're proud of it. When we had that State of the Union address, the first thing they said when they told us 26 minutes was, these are the things we're doing to get better. Okay. We've added a new support person. We've added a new implementation person. We've added a new programmer. Okay. And we have our own programming staff. We write 100% of our own code in house. Okay. So if you have custom needs, we can address those with you as well. Okay. So obviously, from implementation, we do 100% of that on site. Okay, I mean ourselves. So that's all something that we do in house. Okay, all your ongoing support, of course, that's all directly from us. And of course, you have your SWK team. They're intimately familiar with our application. We've worked together on so many opportunities. They've come to know our stuff as well too. But you have unlimited contacts to us. Okay. So unlimited help desk contacts, that's phone calls, emails, what have you. We track those. So if we get 5 calls that come in a month and they're all about the same thing, we might come back and say, hey, this is maybe just an understanding issue. Maybe with a quick little training session, everybody will understand this and it won't slow you down anymore. Okay. So we'll help you analyze your issues. And product updates, we're going to keep sending those out. Sage 100 upgrades, these are all free to you. Okay, there's never charges for this kind of stuff. So if you upgrade in April to 2025, all you have to do is let us know when and where. Boom, we'll remote in, upload the new stuff, and you're ready to link up. Okay, and we coordinate with your SWK rep always on that kind of stuff. Okay, now the last thing that I want to talk about today is maybe the one burning question in your mind: how much does it cost? And this is where I have to say, you know what? I really don't know, because the aforementioned 3 different versions, okay, 3 different budget levels, 63 enhancements. Half our customers don't need any enhancement. Once they figure out what their version they slot into, Core, Select, Premier, that's all they need. It meets all their needs. They just hit the ground running and they're good. Okay. Now they have these other things over here off to the side. If they want to grow into it later, that's great. Okay. But again, half our customers, they don't need any enhancements. And the ones that do, maybe you're a manufacturer, you're going to bolt on bill of materials or production management. Okay. Or maybe you want to wave pick or wave receive, or maybe you want to capture images, or you want to ship with pallets. Okay. So there is a cost associated with all those enhancements, but think of the savings in manpower alone. Think of the efficiency gains that you get. Again, barcoding systems make money. They don't cost money. Now, this is a general statistic. This has nothing to do with us, nothing to do with Sage. But in general, these types of warehousing barcoding systems typically have an ROI somewhere in the 6 to 18 month range. Why is it so large a gap? Because we have 3 different versions and 63 enhancements, and they don't know how much of that you need. Okay, so the more you do, maybe the longer it takes to return that. But if you could return it in a year and a half, then it's gravy from then on. Okay, and we've done this so many times. Again, upwards of 10,000 users across Sage. So you're not a guinea pig. This is well rehearsed. We're very, very familiar with getting you, the Sage 100 client, up and running on our solution. And I'd love to show you how. The process here, you just reach out to whoever you talk to at SWK. They will ping me directly, and then we'll get on the horn together and set up an individual meeting. I'll listen to all of your hopes and dreams, all of your complaints, and I'll help you figure out which one of the three versions and if any of the enhancements make sense in your world. I'll get you a quote within a day. Okay. And then you'll know exactly how much it's going to cost. Okay. All right. That is it for me. And Courtney, I will turn it back over to you. Do we have any questions that have come in?
Yes, thank you, Brian. That was so fun to do some of those polls and get to see those answers in real time. Proud to get some right, but definitely
Courtney, were
some
you the
wrong in
cheater?
here.
Admit it. You were the cheater, weren't you?
No, no, I would
Okay.
never, never, Brian. Um, so yes, we do have some questions. That was a lot of great information. If you've not had a moment to get your question in yet, now is the time. We've got, 15 minutes to dive into as many questions as we need to. And, while you're getting those questions in and right before we dive in, we'd appreciate your participation in this quick poll. So just curious to know about your next steps. So as Brian mentioned, we can set up that discovery demo call so you can learn more about all those different solutions that ScanForce has. So you can always reach out to your SWK rep and your typical person that you talk to day to day. But if you want to let us know right now, we'll make sure someone reaches out to you. And if you're just here to learn, that is perfectly okay too. We had a lot of good information there. And Brian, while that's up, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with one of the first questions we had.
Sure.
And that question was, do you provide the scanning and printing hardware? What if we already
Sure.
have some of this equipment?
Yeah. So, a couple things. Number one, we're an authorized Zebra reseller. Zebra, if you're not familiar, is the largest manufacturer of barcode scanning and printing equipment in the world. Okay. They actually bought the company that was way back when called Symbol Technologies. If you have as much gray hair as I do, you remember that name. They were the inventor of barcode laser scanning technology. Okay. So they were really the forerunners of that. Well, that is the modern day Zebra. So we are a reseller of theirs, so we can provide all of that equipment to you. So you will get one quote, one piece of paper for the entire project. You won't have to go anywhere else. It's all on one piece of paper. No hidden fees, no gotchas, that sort of thing. Okay, but yeah, I think the question said, can you get it elsewhere? So if you already have hardware, okay, if you've already done some level of scanning, then more than likely, yes, we can use that. I told you before that the hardware can work and scan all the different symbologies of barcodes. So yeah, we could probably use that. Our application runs on Android, which is the most common on these rugged mobile scanning devices. It runs on Apple iOS. It can also run on a Windows PC environment. So if you have a kiosk, especially like in manufacturing where we see that people don't move, I work at a workstation and stuff comes to me. If I don't need mobility, if they already have a PC, we'll just put our software on there. You don't have to buy another scanner. Okay, we'll try to make it very cost effective. We'll talk through that during the demo process.
Perfect. That's great to know. Another question we had come through is, can ScanForce convert information from a different multi-bin solution, or do we have to start from scratch?
Yes. The answer is absolutely yes. In fact, there is one other uh, maybe infamous is the right term, WMS that's prevalent in the Sage 100 world. And I'll give you a number. Again, I told you I like numbers. I don't like subjective. So we have converted from another Sage 100 multi-bin to over to our multi-bin. I don't know the exact number, but I know it is north of 100 times. So more than 100 times we have converted multi-bin data over to our multi-bin. Our multi-bin is built on the latest and greatest Sage programming standards. If the term business object means something to you, that's where we live. Basically, that just is a way of encapsulating code to make it easier to deploy and implement and upgrade. So our stuff upgrades unto itself and is then ready to plug into the whatever version of Sage or PU1, PU2, whatever that you're running. So yeah, would love to talk to you about converting your multi-bin stuff. You do not have to, start over or lose history or anything like that.
Wow, that's a huge help to not have to, completely restart there. We got a few more questions to go through. So, someone asked, can we lease the barcoding solution?
So, a couple things to come to mind there. Sometimes people will ask me when I provide a quote that has hardware, they say, am I leasing the hardware? The answer is no. You're purchasing the hardware. That is a one-time expense. And we still have some customers that are running our software on Windows Mobile or Windows CE hardware. Okay. That stuff hasn't even been supported by the manufacturer for years. Okay. But that's how bomb-proof this hardware is. If you take care of it, it'll take care of you. So no, you do not have to lease the hardware from us. That is something that you purchase upfront. Now, if you do want to lease the hardware or you want to do the entire project on a lease, we being SWK and ScanForce both work with an entity in this industry called Dimension Funding. That's a company that specializes in leasing this type of stuff with a hardware and software mix, okay, and the services that go along with it. So we can put you in touch with them, and within a day they can provide you with a quote, and they do things like 12 months to 60-month leases, so you have no upfront costs, no balloon payment at the end. You can spread it over however long you wish. And I know that right now they have a thing. I have several deals right now going that are in the process of signing with them, and they have no payments until next year. So if you don't have budgetary dollars in 2024 to spend, but you'd still like to do this, we can get it going, and then you can actually pay for it with 2025 budget dollars.
Great to know. I think just a couple more. So if you still got a burning question out there, last moment to get that in. This person said, if I have a very unique inventory solution that is customized in Sage, can you
Mhm.
modify your system to work with that?
Sure. I touched on this very briefly when we were talking that we have our own in-house programming staff. Okay. That's something that's very unique. Not everybody does. We write 100% of our own code. And the people that wrote this stuff originally are the same people that are here today. And I told you we've added some people to that group, but the core is still here from the very beginning. So if you have something that needs to be customized, absolutely, let's talk. I'll set up a conversation with the head of our development team, and we'll talk through what your scenario is. And I'll even give you a real life example. I have a deal going right now. This is real world with a company that produces a food product. I won't give away their name, but they produce a food product that gets packed in a case, and it goes down a conveyor line to their distribution side. Well, they're bought this $1 million robot thing that's this big arm that grabs the cases off the conveyor line and stacks them on pallets. It has an integrated barcode scanner that scans the barcode on the graphic on the outside of the case. Once they get to, I think it's like 40 cases, maybe it's 20 cases. Anyway, once they get to, I'll say 40 cases, then the robot sends us, ScanForce, a feed of data, and we do a production management completion saying 40 cases were produced, and we send that to Sage. And we create a license plate or a pallet ID for those 40 cases, including all the lot numbers. And by doing this, they were able to remove 2 humans completely from the operation for this robot. Okay, and so we integrated all of that stuff together. So if we can do that, we could probably handle your scenario too.
That is a great point there. And then our final question we have before we wrap up here is just this person said, I have a third party integration that I can't do without. Do you work with other systems that tie into Sage 100?
Oh, all the time. Like we have one customer that has a paint mixing system, and other drug tracking is really big right now. There's some federal mandates coming down about how you handle pharmaceuticals and drugs, be it dental or medical, whatever. We have other customers, the food world, that have additives and things like that. So yeah, we do that. In fact, this dovetails very nicely into our conversation about the robot from a moment ago. We actually created a tool that we called our integration engine. And we built this engine to stand between us and Sage, ScanForce and Sage, and whatever that third party thing is. And we went ahead and pre built all the hooks from the integration engine downstream into our system and into Sage, so that all we have to do is build the hooks from your third party into the integration engine, and the integration engine, it slices and dices the data and sends it to where it needs to be. So think of it this way: rather than custom coding and writing every third party integration from scratch, we've already got half of it done. Okay, so much faster to deploy for you, much less expensive for you. Okay, and that's what we did with this robot. The integration engine sits between the robot and ScanForce, so we can collect production management data and then send that right back into Sage. So yes, absolutely, we do third-party stuff like that all the time.
That's great to know. People have a lot of different systems out there, so it's great to know that you guys can,
Yep,
work with a
they don't have to live
variety.
on an island. And I can't tell you how many times I talk to people and they say, well, we're doing it in Excel now. Okay. It's like, this is half of my job is getting rid of Excel. Okay. So we can remove Excel from 90% of the stuff that you do in your warehouse, I promise.
Yes, yes, we all have dealt with those huge Excel spreadsheets that are just slow and, there's so many error issues. So I'm with you on Excel. It's it's a hard one there. So that concludes our Q&A. We just want to say thank you to everyone who took some time out of their day to be with us. We hope you found it informative, had a little bit of fun with the polling there and getting to test your knowledge and learn a little bit more about the facts behind barcoding itself. Like we said, we're very close partners with ScanForce, and we really love their product and think it has a lot of potential to save you guys time and make your warehouse operations a lot more efficient. So if you want to learn more, maybe you didn't answer that last poll or the Q&A, you heard some things that changed your mind and you want to set up that discovery call with Brian to learn specifically about the use cases for you and your business, reach out to us at info@swktech.com. Let us know in the follow-up poll. You can check out a little bit more about ScanForce on our website. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you so much, Brian, for a lot of great information there.
My pleasure. Always a joy.
Thank you all. Have a great one.